Math 122. Quick look back at week number 3, the simple compound interest and problems of the week. Starting with those problems of the week. First one, I'm trying to figure out how long have people been teaching. I'm giving you a couple numbers. Put them together in equations. This is one approach. I'm looking at some different student work. Don't know what to do. It's a good start. Remember, I'm not looking for the final answer. I'm looking for your best effort, your best start. So this is a good start for the discussion board. Another student said this, hey, I'm going to guess and check. That's all right, but don't just say I'm guessing and checking and give me an answer. Look at the more description saying, hey, this is biggest, so I think this number is going to be larger. This is smallest. Tell me where you're going. And the other way is, well, you're actually going to show me the long work. So another student showed this and said, hey, I tried 10, I tried 12, I tried 14. Showed me the labor behind guess and check. So that's a good approach to the problem as well. Another student took the more formulaic, say add them up, you get 86, but then you got to divide it by 2, and then you can work backwards from there. Okay, all these are great approaches. Remember, it's not about the final answer, it's about your effort, getting that effort down. Problem number 2, I'm telling you about 1 hour of selling cars. What happens in 8 hours? A lot of people started with something along this. Well, 8 hours multiplied by 8. I like it. And then, well, add on because you got a fifth person. These are a good start. Remember, it's not about the right answer, which actually this student, 56, is not quite the right answer. But guess what? This is good thinking. This is good reasoning. This is what I'm looking for. Now, this is some really elaborate math right here. We get some ratios going on that you can test that the equation works out. And then here you put in those equations in effort. The elaborate doesn't necessarily need to be this elaborate, but I want to let you know that I want you to see the whole scope of the math. From the basic, from sometimes I don't know, from here's my guesses to, this is some fantastic math here. So, discussion board, I want to see you put those efforts out there on the problems. Let's look at the homework. Simple interest. The first one, I'm giving you the simple interest. I'm giving you the money, the percent, the years. You got to figure out some money. Different approaches here. One student writing out sort of text-based, writing out the sentence, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, really spelling it out for me. I think that's great. I think that's a great way. I can see the steps. I see the answers. Here's somebody else doing it. Once again, a lot of words in there, and that's fine. I'm happy to have those words. They help make sure I know what's going on, and then I can see the answer in there. And another student, this one's more calculation-based. Just put the numbers together, and ta-da, there's my answers. Just throw the numbers together. All of those approaches are fantastic. Of course, it all based on make sure you have the correct formula. You can find that in lecture notes as well. A couple things about this one. I think this is part C. Okay, got the equation, put all the calculations together. Oh, but this is the little wrinkle you got to pay attention to. 32 months is not quite 2.5 years. It's a little off from that. And the same thing here. The student says 32 months. That's about 3 years. And you got to be real careful. Sometimes it's in between. Usually check those decimals. Compound interest. So here's one student's effort for problem number 2, which is dealing with compound interest. They break out great calculations, but they're using the simple interest formula. So this is great math for the other types of questions. So here we need a different approach. And this student, you see they're using the compound interest formula. That is also in the lecture notes for this, for week number 3's assignments. Okay, if I got to critique this student, it's good math here. We're talking about money. Throw a dollar sign on those answers. I will take a moment to mention a lot of people on week number 3 homework missed that compound interest. Remember, resubmit and resolve. And I'll give you a quick rundown of how to use that compound interest formula so that you're ready to do a resolve. So if I'm giving you a compound interest formula, there's your formula. Let's take those numbers and figure out where they fit. 1200 is what I'm investing. My investment is my P, my principal. My percentage, well, percentage always goes for the rate. You notice how I moved the decimal 2 places. 10 years, years is time right there. And quarterly. Quarterly interest, 4 quarters in a dollar, so that goes in for my N. A lot of parentheses, you know math. Parentheses first. So you see I did that calculation. It's intermediate calculation on my calculator. Now, I've got 2 different things. I need to do the exponents first. Because if you do PEMDAS, the E stands for exponents. Thank you, Mr. Calculator. I get that number. Multiply them up. Parentheses mean multiply in that last step. Parentheses mean multiply. Put a dollar sign on it. I got my problem. Couple other little critiques I want to throw about that homework. This one's very blurry. I guess I could mention that. Make sure when you make your scans they're clear. This student has 1.00. Well, if you have the number 1, that doesn't change anything. The number 1 won't change if you multiply. And, well, in reality, money should change. So if you get 1.00 in your calculations, you want to put some extra decimals in. Maybe 1.003 or 0004 or something like that. Another calculation I looked at, student has something right here with the exponent 4. I think in reality it's 1.082. 0.24. I think there's some more decimals after. Be careful when you round on these compound interest problems. And I think the very last problem I just want to mention is this. I give you the simple interest, and I give you the final amount. And you see the student did very, very well. They put, instead of the P, they put that 5,000 on the second half of the equation, right over here. Or they put the 1,000 on the left side of the equation, over here. Because the P is what I'm starting with, and we don't know it. Then they did the calculation, they got some answers. Problem is, they're missing an extra P. In this, they're missing an extra P. That extra P represents sort of the money that the money that you start with. And if you check the video for the, week number 3, I did a problem like this where you have 2 P's and you combine like terms, and then you can divide from that last step right there. Check that video otherwise, but what this student is doing right here is good math, just there needs to be 1 extra P in there. And the very last thing, okay, I was lying, this word problem here about the college savings, I'm asking you this. I'm saying past performance does not guarantee future results. And I say, what does that mean? And a lot of you hit it, roughly speaking, had the right answer, but I just want to be real careful when you say something like this. It may be more or less. You see the student saying more or less. I completely agree. It might be more or less, but it is sort of a little bit vague, or take it from the perspective of a consumer. Why is that good or bad? Should I be worried about that? Should I be, what should my reaction be? Or how should that color my reasoning, so to speak? More or less, I agree with you. Dig in just that little extra step. Thoughts about week 3 homework? If you have questions, please let me know. And like I said, I know there were some issues with that compounding interest, some of the other simple interest problems. Please resolve, resubmit. I want to make sure that you know your grade right now is not your final grade. Keep working, keep improving, and we'll get the grades where we need to be. Okay, more questions? You let me know.